brief overview. The tragical history of Romeo and Juliet. It's first performed in 1597. It's one of the most popular during Shakespeare's lifetime, one of the most performed. It has 24,545 words in the complete version. I suspect that the version on show in Manchester at the moment is slightly less than that, but there's quite a bit being cut out of it. Performed throughout the world in many languages. Of the 37 plays, it is 15th in length, and it was sourced from a narrative poem by Arthur Brooke, 1562, which in turn is based on a French translation of a tale by the Italian Matteo Bandello. It was last performed at the Royal Exchange in 2005 with Andrew Garfield as Romeo. Anybody know who Andrew Garfield is?
Nope.
Yeah.
He's a major Hollywood star. I think he's Spider-Man, isn't he, amongst other things. But
Right.
that was one of his first outings at the Royal Exchange with trying to think who was Mercutio. Andrew Buchan, I think. He was a good actor. Anyway, opening line. Two houses alike in dignity in fair Verona, where we lay our tale. I just found two houses alike in dignity. This is obviously not Verona. This is San Francisco, but
That's great. Is that a Juliet balcony?
Well, we get on to that later. But
Okay.
I just think that the opening lines of Romeo and Juliet are very apposite at the moment when we think about two houses alike in dignity, but not necessarily in amity. What's going on in the world at the moment. Okay, fair Verona. If you were to visit Verona, you would find this house with a balcony, but as somebody pointed out the other day, Shakespeare didn't mention balconies or anything in Romeo and Juliet. It's something that's been added on later. But Verona itself is a city in northern Italy in the Veneto district with a population of around 250,000, but it has a magnificent first century Roman arena.
That's stunning.
Which is in the center of the medieval city, which hosts a famous opera festival every summer, open air opera to about 7,000 people. Never been, but I've always wanted to go actually. But it attracts major international opera stars. It's a big deal actually. But there you go. That's another aspect of Verona. Okay, going back to moving forward to Romeo and Juliet on film. There were some complaints the other day that Romeo and Juliet seemed a little old for their roles at the Royal Exchange. Here we have Leslie Howard and Norma Shearer. Leslie Howard was 43 and Norma Shearer was 34. So it's rather stretching the imagination.
Basil Rathbone, good heavens.
Yeah, I just got to show you Basil Rathbone actually. John Barrymore. Basil Rathbone and John Barrymore are seen here fighting. Basil Rathbone, I think, was Tybalt. No, sorry, Basil Rathbone and Mercutio. John Barrymore and Tybalt. They were 44 and 54 years of age, respectively. So it's rather stretching the. Okay. Then we move on to the 1968 Zeffirelli film, which most of you.
Olivia Rosso.
Yeah.
She was Olivia.
She was quite young, wasn't she?
Olivia was 11. She was 17 and he was 18. They were actually publicised as being younger than that to fit in with the story, but in fact, that's how old they were when the film was made. She went on to remain in films, but I think Leonard Whiting moved off and became a bus conductor or something. I don't know what, but he definitely left the film business. But it was a very kind of 1960s colourful. Some people complained about the fact that they weren't established actors, and that they didn't necessarily treat Shakespeare language as it should have been treated. But I thought it was rather refreshing to see. Well, there were beautiful young people, weren't they, and surrounded by a young cast. Here we have Tybalt and Cusio, played by Michael York, with his back to us, and I think one of the McHenrys, I can't remember whether it's Peter or John. And it was actually filmed in and around Verona, so it was kind of very 60s look about it. There we go. And then more up to date, 1996, with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes in the Baz Luhrmann version.
What's your favourite film version, Graham?
I rather like the Zeffirelli version, actually, but I think the George Cukor one from 1936 is hysterically funny, but for the wrong reasons, perhaps. But he climbs up the balcony. I was kind of holding my breath in case he didn't make it. Okay, that's another still from the Baz Luhrmann film, which was rather surrealistic version of it. Okay, then we have West Side Story. I think in truth, probably my favourite version of it, if you consider it to be a version of it. But then we have Natalie Wood and Richard Bateman on the New York balcony, or if that's singing away. He wasn't singing, and actually neither of them were singing. They were both dubbed. But here we have the legendary Rita Moreno on who won an Oscar as Anita. And she also produced the latest version of West Side Story and appeared in it. And they changed the role of Doc, or the guy with the drugstore, into a woman, and she played it. And that was in 2022, actually. This is a still from the 2022 version. Which I enjoyed too. It didn't eclipse the 61 version. Well, perhaps that was imprinted on my 14-year-old brain. So there we go. And here is the 2015 West Side Story at the Royal Exchange. Some of you may remember. I thought it was terrific, actually. I thought it was really good. But did anybody see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. It was good.
And then we have Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, that's sweet.
Hey.
I must see.
Yeah, from the Shrek director. I love Shrek. Shrek's a great film, actually. Or the Shrek series, but and it's got pretty stellar cast there playing the parts. James McAvoy, Michael Caine, Maggie Smith, etc., etc., etc. Patrick Stewart in that. Ozzy Osbourne.
When did that come out, Graham? I've never heard of it before.
2012.
Oh, never heard of it.
It does pop up on telly occasionally. Of course, Shakespeare in Love, which is not exactly Romeo and Juliet, but it's very much set around Romeo and Juliet, and it's a very clever piece of filming, actually, and delightful to look at, irrespective of what you may or may not think of Gwyneth Paltrow. She was very good in it, and it's full of great performances. Actually, this is when Judi Dench played Queen Elizabeth and got an Oscar for 8 minutes of screen time, but. Yeah, this is the nurse from, I think the nurse is a great part in Romeo and Juliet. The nurse from the Zeffirelli film, which is played by Pat Haywood. You may or may not remember. Didn't make that many films, but she was a West End actress in the 70s and 80s. But she cut her acting teeth at the Library Theatre when he was a rep in Manchester in the 50s and early 60s. And she gives a splendid performance as the nurse. But one thing I noticed about the production at the Royal Exchange, there was a lot more laughter than I remember. I'm not sure whether they were laughing at the Shakespearean lines or whether they were laughing at physical comedy. Anyway, there you go. Here is perhaps the most famous nurse of all, who never actually played it on film, I don't think, but Edith Evans was nurse to a lot of Romeo and Juliet, Olivier and Gielgud and people. But there you go, it's a great picture. Yeah. And here is the irrepressible Miriam Margolyes, who played the nurse in the Baz Luhrmann film. Outspoken character. From 4 fatal loins of these 2 foes, both offspring of ill-fated enemies, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, etc., etc. So this is where we get star-crossed lovers, which is a theme which runs through most love stories. Well, not most, but many. It's a template for. This is from the prologue in Act 1. My only love sprung from my only hate. This is the first line that I actually heard Juliet speak. Not to say she hadn't spoken before, but this is the first line I heard. I remember the line and it struck me quite strongly. The tragedy of choosing a lover from the wrong, or from who was considered to be the wrong group, or the wrong class, or the wrong culture. Or love this. Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? The most famous line from the play, which everybody knows, and is rather sweet. And this is probably also a famous, isn't it? What light through yonder window breaks. I think it's a lovely line now. It is the east and Juliet is the sun. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. That we also probably fairly familiar with. A plague on both your houses. Not so lovely. Romeo and Juliet in other forms. You have an opera here, I Capoletti e I Montecchi by Bellini, which is a very kind of drawn out version of Romeo and Juliet. The problem with Romeo and Juliet is that to get actors who are skilled enough to perform the parts, they're likely to be too old. It's even more the case in opera singers. I felt like I was watching an opera when I went to see Romeo and Juliet the other week, last week or whatever it was, because whilst I didn't hear all of the words, I understood the emotions, which I think was probably the best part of it for me. Like a lot of people, I struggled very much at the Royal Exchange to hear, but I thought it was physically very well expressed. So there you go. And here's another opera by Romeo and Juliet in French by Charles Gounod. And then we Tchaikovsky had a go at it as well, the Romeo and Juliet. And this is my absolute favourite musically.
It's lovely. The ballet's wonderful as well. Really brilliant.
Yeah. Well, I'm not very knowledgeable about ballet. Well, as much as I'm knowledgeable about anything, but I went to see this at the Sadler's Wells a few years ago, and it was actually choreographed by Nureyev, but the music in the ballet is, I think, is stunning. I think
it is.
The Macmillan version is better than Nureyev.
Okay. On to the world of painting, art, whatever. This is by Waterhouse, which has a very, I don't know, 1970s look about it to me. Pretty Raphaelite, I guess, in style. This is the young Julia.
At least they've got her about the right age, haven't they? She does look as though she might be 14.
Well,
that's a lovely one.
I think she looks quite stubborn as well in
Yeah.
there, like Juliet is.
Yeah, it's kind of strong-willed and yeah.
Strong chin.
This I like. It's kind of very muscular Romeo and a very masculine nurse on the balcony.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the nurse.
What's he supposed to be doing?
But he's climbing onto the balcony and she's sort of whispering to Juliet that he's here and he shouldn't be and all the rest of it, But,
What's all this fabric?
That's the balcony.
It looks like a blanket.
well, I
Doesn't it?
think it's a kind of
Or a
it's
throw.
maybe the washing on the balcony.
It's Juliet, isn't it? She's
No, because the nurse is whispering to Juliet off the
There's
page.
what looks like
there's
hair
her
over his
arm
face.
and her hair.
I think it's actually he's not climbing up, he's climbing down. He's escaping and she's telling him, you better go now because Lady Capulet is on the prowl or whatever. But,
So is he kissing Juliet then? Is that Juliet?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's got her arm.
Oh,
right.
right. Yes, I missed that. I was kind of confusing.
Well
the
done,
two.
Murray.
this is Juliet
Yeah.
here and this is
Yeah.
the nurse in the
She's
background.
leaning over the balcony, isn't she?
It's ambiguous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is rather more sort of
Ooh, he could hurt himself there.
yeah. It's Boyd Maddox for Brown. In the thing at the side of it said it's on a balcony, the side of a small single bed. But it's
He's got a big head, hasn't he? And she's got a small head.
So much bigger than her, yeah.
He's got a very small arm.
okay, and a big leg. Okay. Thank you for your artistic. It's a very strange painting, isn't it?
It's weird.
Is
Yeah.
that his
I'm
hand
obviously not
sticking out?
appreciative of it.
Anyway,
Yeah, that's his withered left arm.
Yes.
it looks like a. What does it look like?
Get that
An arm?
climbing up the balcony.
Very strange, but
It looks like an artificial hand or something.
It does, yeah.
Kind of Dr. Strangelove hand.
and she looks like she couldn't care less.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, get on with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you must. It's a very long arm.
Very, very horrible, aren't we? Okay, and this is a very grandiose painting by Alfred Lord Leighton, in 1856, which is very much in his style. There are quite a lot of Leighton paintings in the Art Gallery of Manchester, but it's kind of, well, it is pre-Raphaelite style, isn't it? It's that kind of mid-19th century hint, reference to classicism, but there you go. And here is Delacroix, French painter, 1850. And here you see Romeo picking up the seemingly lifeless dead body of.
It's another one of those get your tits out paintings, which really
I was
is
just going to
interesting.
say that, yeah. Get them out for the lads.
Okay, thank you, ladies. Okay, this is how even the NATO international alphabet
Got Juliet and Romeo. Yeah, didn't
and
remember.
Romeo still appearing, but which is the only I don't know what literary references that you will find in the alphabet, so that they are obviously in the in everybody's mind. Big hit of 2 o'clock in 1961.
Sorry, I'll not sing it, but I remember the song.
How does it go?
Romeo, why am I so in love with you? Is it something about, is it you or the things you
Go on,
do?
sing it. You've got to sing it, son.
No, I can't. I completely break the
I've
computer.
never
It
seen
starts
it.
with, I studied Shakespeare when I was in school. I thought Romeo was a pet. Thought that if I met him, I'd act like a fool. I'd make a poor Juliet. This is Romeo. Romeo friggin' Beckham. Well, he's a Nepo child, isn't he? The woman. And here we have the unavoidable Juliet balcony. Which apartment would be complete without a Juliet balcony? Personally, I can't see the point, but
It's a safety thing, isn't it?
yeah, but why? Why not just
To stop children falling out.
This is the last line of there never was a story of more woe than this one. Juliet and her Romeo. Have a good weekend, folks.
Wonderful.
Okay,
All the
see you,
best.
everybody.